Hey everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Chris, and that guy over there is
Patrick Mahomes?
not exactly.
Okay,
What the heck?
Josh.
You
I'm
know, you
just
know
I'm
that
just
here for.
Josh.
Sorry, everybody. I actually hit the wrong button. Hit stop streaming as I was trying to switch scenes because I'm an idiot. How are you doing tonight, Josh?
It's been a rough day of work, and other than that, peachy?
Nice. Other than that, peachy. Yeah, been a pretty decent day for
No,
me.
I said
Can't
no. What
complain.
I said was peachy.
Peachy, peachy keen.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good. The thing is still
Anyways,
working.
all right.
Anyways, we're back for our Fav 5, Week 11, our favorite starts of the week, our streamers at the quarterback and tight end position, and
I think we
our
should call it our
sleepers of the
favorite
week.
non-obvious starts of the week.
Well, I think at least one of mine's pretty obvious this week. I try not to gloss over I try to include one, I guess you could ballpark it at a top 5 guy. Not necessarily always top 5, sometimes it's top 10, but definitely I include one of those each week. Sometimes two, but yeah, other than that, they're more like, for me, RB2s, flexes, what have you.
What's an RB?
Running back. Not to be confused with the sandwich place. We have the meats. We have
All right.
the starts.
And guess what, Chris? I have the news.
That you do.
Let's go with first. The teams on bye this week is Jacksonville, Miami, Seattle, and Tampa Bay. So that means no Tua. That's a real dagger to a lot of people right there. No Tom Brady. No Geno Smith, who's actually been a viable fantasy starter, more or less, week in and week out. The Miami running backs, they were both, I called it last week. They were both productive. So on and so on. No Kenneth Walker, yada, yada. You know who's on those teams. Let's start with the news. Carson Wentz has resumed throwing, but won't return to practice Wednesday. You could argue that throwing is him practicing, but anyways, Colt McCoy is listed as questionable, no injury, minor knee injury. We'll get to his counterpart, Kyler Murray. He also has a hamstring injury. Cliff Kingsbury said Wednesday that he'll make a decision later in the week. So stay tuned to the Sunday morning stream to get more updates on that, or go to Twitter or anything else. Anyways, Josh Allen, yada yada, he's gonna play again. We all know that. Speaking of the Bills, though, that game has been moved from Buffalo, where it's supposed to have 4 feet of snow.
Yeah.
4 feet
they moved that game
of snow. They have moved it to Detroit, also known as the Motor City, and that's between the Bills and the Browns. Yep. Whatever.
Indoors.
Anyways, I'm moving along to Matthew Stafford. He's expected to clear the concussion protocol and be ready for Sunday. PJ Walker, he is listed as out with a high ankle sprain for Week 11 versus Baltimore. Deion Jackson, running back for the Colts, he was limited in practice yesterday, and also today with a knee injury. Not a lot of people care, but maybe deeper leagues, maybe dynasty leagues, maybe. Zeke, okay, Chris, I have no idea. Did Zeke play last week?
He did not.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I proposed that in our Dynasty League chat, and I heard crickets chirping.
Oh,
anyways, Zeke knee practiced in a limited fashion Thursday. I'm guessing he's going to go this week, but stay tuned for that. J.D. McKissick wasn't spotted at practice Thursday and is set to be listed as a non-participant for a second day in a row. No one really cares. Leonard Fournette, who's suffered a hip injury last week, and the Bucks with the Bucks game in Germany, is expected to be available next week versus the Cleveland Browns for the bye game. Chris, we'll stop here real quick. I know everyone, Rachaad White is the new news, but
sure,
is the new hotness in Tampa Bay. But Leonard Fournette was okay last week, and the Cleveland Browns are really bad at defending the run. How do you feel about Fournette next week?
I think some of the luster is worn off with Rashad White. It's just he's one of those backs like a Pacheco, the guy in Atlanta, Algier, that just like keeps getting that like good looks, good snap percentage, good amount of carries, touches, but just hasn't broken that ceiling yet. In the case of Tampa, you got an established guy in the way. I mean, I'm not predicting a breakout game for Leonard Fournette, because I'm kind of anti him, but I think they won one or two games lately with him still being mostly featured. Till I see otherwise, I really don't see a reason to jump on that wagon. I mean, by all means, stash him if you can.
Who?
Rashad White. By all means, stash him if you can. Deeper league, he's probably already on a roster. But I just don't know if you can go out and start him over Leonard Fournette yet.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay, Chris, we have a question real quick. Let's address that. TS says
Swift or Williams PPR.
I'm assuming this is DeAndre Swift and Mike Williams. I know he means Jamal. I'm going Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I'm going Jamal Williams. We'll probably talk
about
him later.
Mike Williams?
Assuming he's back. I don't know if we have confirmation on that in your news notes.
We will talk about that here in just a second.
It says PPR, so that means full PPR to me. Yeah, I think I go Mike Williams. I don't think you can rely on Swift.
So no matter what Williams,
it's Williams.
What if it's John Williams, the famous composer of all those movie scores?
Is that true? Is that really a composer?
Yeah, John Williams. He did like Star Wars. He's done so many movies.
It's just such a common name. I forget it every time I hear it.
He won like the most Oscars of like in history too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's I know of the person. I just couldn't remember their name. Then I'm gonna stick with Swift on that one, buddy. But otherwise, it's the Williamses. What if it's Serena Williams? Yep, probably still going Serena. I'm just kidding.
What about Venus Williams though?
Swift hasn't had double-digit carries or over 20 fantasy points since week 1. Obviously, there's a big chunk of that was injury, but I'm pointing out the truth here. Oops.
He says he does confirm that it's Jamal. But it would have been funny if it was Venus. Anyways, let's move along with the news here. I just did Lenny Fofo. Let's go on to Mark Ingram. Not that anyone cares that much. He wasn't practice at Thursday's practice. He wasn't present at Thursday's practice. Let's move along to tight ends before wide receivers, because that's how I have it listed. Don't question it, Chris. I'm gonna keep on rolling. Cole Kmet. He was limited Thursday with a thigh injury. I'm assuming this is maybe more. I don't know. I didn't see him on.
Did he not play on yesterday? That same injury this past week? I feel like
I don't know.
Or did it happen this weekend? I thought it happened the last weekend before, when he got tagged right on the thigh by a helmet.
Maybe
or another knee.
I didn't see this on Wednesday, so this bears some keeping an eye on.
Sure.
Dallas Goedert, or Dallas Goedert, however you want to say his name, was placed on the IR with a shoulder injury. Daniel Bellinger, the rookie tight end for the Giants, is he had that fracture, like orbital fracture, like right on his eye. He isn't practicing this week, but he vows to play again this season. That's my words, not his. David Njoku for the Browns was a limited participant with an ankle injury today. Gerald Everett, who had a groin injury last week and missed a good chunk of that game, was limited practice yesterday. Mark Andrews, this is the news we've all been waiting for. Shoulder knee injury, was listed as a limited participant on Thursday, and from what I've read, is expected to go this week.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz Zach Ertz, his season is over with a knee injury. I believe he tore his ACL. Zach Ertz, I'm not calling it a career for him, but he is over 30, I believe. And
sounds right.
I don't know if that's right now. I know he's getting up there in age, and let's even say he's 30, to suffer a knee
32.
Injury in week 10. 30. Okay, so a 32-year-old tearing his ACL in week 10. I'm guessing he misses most, if not all of next year as well. AJ Brown, ankle/rest, was limited practice. Was in limited capacity Thursday. I'm like, are you resting or not? He's like, well, I rested most of practice, but I got up and I I stretched. Anyways, Cooper Kupp has also landed on the injury reserve this week with an ankle injury. He's a high ankle sprain. It will require surgery. The timetable for this is usually about 6 weeks. We're going into week 11 here. The Rams are 3-6. They are 3-6. I'm guessing that Cooper Kupp is done for the year. What say you, Chris?
Ditto. I've been chatting about it to a couple guys throughout the week. Just kind of.
I mean, the Rams would have to win
out there.
The Rams would literally have to win every single game the rest of the year to have a chance of Cooper Kupp coming back just to play this season.
Yeah, because they're
like, what's the point of him coming back in week 17?
Yeah,
None.
well, they also just lost their second starting left tackle for the season, meaning I think they started the year without their original intended starting left tackle. Forgive me, I do not recall the name. And then
we'll call him Jim.
It's Jim, and they just lost their current starting left tackle. So
we'll call him Sally.
The running back situation, we all know that has been a giant mess. Stafford hasn't played well, but has also been banged up. He seems like he's on track to play out of coming out of concussion protocol.
And the offensive line is a hot mess there.
Yeah, so I think they're just going to put a wrap on the season. Put a wrap on Kupp's ankle and put a wrap on the season.
Curtis Samuel had a shin injury from last week, and he got a limited practice in today. Devontae Adams had his abdomen injury. I believe this is the same thing he had last week. He played through it and scored me some good points, even though I lost somehow in Dynasty. No comment, please. DeAndre Carter, rib injury. He was limited practice yesterday. No news about today. Devonta Smith, wide receiver for the Eagles, knee, limited practice. DJ Chark is to be designated to return from IR. So that's a good sign for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. I did not misspeak there. Isaiah McKenzie has an illness, didn't practice Thursday. Not a lot of people care. Jamar Chase hip wasn't at Wednesday's practice. I'm guessing he still has an out tag, so I'm guessing he's going to miss yet another week. Therefore, they probably should have just put him on IR. But whatever. What do I know?
My sentiments exactly.
Jameson Williams, the rookie that has not played at all for the Lions this year. Head coach Dan Campbell said Wednesday he expects Williams' knee to be designated to return from injury reserve some point after Thanksgiving, making the team's Week 13 game versus the Jaguars his earliest possible debut, per Eric Woodyard of ESPN.
So I mean,
I think the only reason
drop him in a redraft. I'm just saying drop him in a redraft. What are you going to hold on to him and start him in the fantasy playoffs?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the only reason that the Lions might give him some playing time this year is just to get reps at the pro level.
I want to get his feet wet. I want to see what they've got.
Exactly.
On an NFL field against NFL corners and safeties. Yeah.
Real NFL defenses that aren't preseason.
By all means, get him some playing time. It's just fantasy perspective. I mean, lost year.
Yeah. But the Lions knew that when they were drafting him too. So whatever.
Fair.
Jarvis Landry, ankle, was a limited practice Thursday. I kind of don't care at this point. Andy Dalton is a hot mess. I am officially done with the Saints this year, other than maybe Alvin Kamara. Moving along to Jerry Jeudy, he sprained his ankle last week. Literally the first play of the game, or second play, whatever. Therefore, goosing me, one of the reasons why I lost. Once again, no comment, please, Chris. I'm guessing that Jeudy doesn't play this week. It's a really good matchup for the Broncos, but I just don't think he's going to be playing. More about the Broncos later. Juju, concussion, won't practice Thursday. Yikes, I don't know about this.
Have you seen the hit that he took?
No, and I don't want to.
It was real bad.
That sucks, Juju.
And they picked up the flag. Go ahead, sorry.
Justin Jefferson, he's going to play. Keenan Allen, hamstring, official limit has went to is Keenan Allen just washed, man?
Can't
this is a lost season, I think, for Keenan Allen.
Yeah, and the Chargers. I mean, I think their record's kind of respectable, around 500, maybe off the top of my head, but
maybe they're like 5-4 or something.
They had a lot of high hopes, especially on the offensive side of the ball this year.
I had a lot of high hopes for him. Defense too, man. That's just It's a lost season. Whatever. Let's move along. I'm actually going to skip MVS. He's probably going to play. Marquise Hollywood Brown took part with a foot injury. Took part in individual drills on Thursday. They're talking about activating him, and that there's a good chance that he plays on Monday night. Thing is, do you hold out for Hollywood Brown on Monday? How good is he going to be?
Yeah. No.
Colt McCoy might be the quarterback. I think if it's Colt McCoy, it's a definite no.
I think you can't wait on that. He said today, Kingsbury said today, you might have said as much in the notes, my apologies, that he's going to wait to announce the starter.
Yeah.
But they were both practicing, so, I mean, obviously, if it's Kyler's healthy, it's Kyler, but, a little worried. It'd
be funny if it was Kyler Murray and he was healthy and it wasn't Kyler Murray.
I think they're going to put Kyler Murray on Colt McCoy's shoulders so he can see down the field.
Ooh.
That was a short joke. That's right, folks.
Was that a high blow?
Well, I haven't been watching any of it, but they've got Hard Knocks during the season for the Cardinals because the Hard Knocks is there. I caught it's probably on Twitter, caught a audio and video clip of them arguing. Well, you might have seen it during the game of them arguing on the sideline. However, you could hear what was said, and he didn't say anything about his height, but the person who tweeted it was like, "It's crazy that Hopkins is so, I guess, confident to call out his 5'2" quarterback that he couldn't see him." It struck me as funny. That's why I included the short joke. My apologies.
It's one of the reasons why I was not real big into Kyler coming out of college. It's because he's
not
real big.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyways, that pun was initially intended. Anyways, let's skip over Mecole Hardman. Don't care. Mike Williams, ankle, return to limited practice Wednesday. I think maybe there's a chance that he plays, but last week, Brandon Staley, he said he was more week to week, so maybe not. Romeo Doubs is out for this game because it's already going on, and therefore no one cares that it's in the news, and yet I still keep talking about it. Chris, what's your first running back?
Real quick, Siraz, I am sipping on my usual Jim Beam and Sprite. I'm interested in Hardman because said MVS sounds like he's going to play. Hardman's been pretty decent lately.
Hardman got put on the injury reserve.
Oh. 4 hours ago. Okay. Why would you skip that? I think that's very salient because I might have an asking for. He's been good. He scored double-digit fantasy points 4 games in a row.
Once in his life, he scored double-digit. I'm being an ass. Go ahead, man.
You are, because I might have an asking for a friend involving some some Chiefs receivers.
Okay.
Where were we? My first running back.
I wonder if one of them's Kadarius Toney.
Well, that's the only one left.
Last man standing.
Yeah, I have MVS somewhere else too. That's not the one though. Anyway, onward and upward.
Is he in your back pocket?
No, he's not.
That'd be a really big back pocket.
He's not Kyler Murray's size.
Is he in your prison wallet?
No.
Let's just move along to the running backs, Chris.
I'm trying. Dalvin Cook versus my Dallas Cowboys. Cook was off to a slow start last week until he ripped off an 81-yard touchdown run. If you take that big run out, he only averaged 2.9 yards per carry. But he gets one of the worst run defenses in the league as of late, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has given up an average of 4.72 yards per carry over the last 3 games, the running back position specifically, and an average of 147.67 rushing yards per game to running backs over that same 3-game span. Thanks in large part to having just given up 203 rushing yards to Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon last week. Now, Dallas still has only given up 5 rushing touchdowns on the year, good enough to be tied for third best. But I think either Cook scores or can make up through the air. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a great defense either, but if Dallas gets up early, game script shouldn't matter too much because the Vikings have leaned heavily on Dalvin heavily in the fourth quarter and overtime of last week's epic finish versus Buffalo. And Cook is averaging 5.67 targets per game over, again, that 3-week span. Both teams rank in the top 10 in sacks, so there could be a lot of dump-offs in Dalvin Cook's direction, again, if the game script kind of goes away from Minnesota there. Vegas has the game at the third highest over-under at 47.5, with Dallas the slight favorite. crazy. Slight favorite at 1.5 points, and I think it's in Minnesota. The game is there you go. The game is indoors at Minnesota, and I expect Dalvin Cook to run all over the Dallas D, and he is a top 5 running back for me this week.
That's interesting. Okay. Good call. I like that.
He's up there. Couldn't make him number RB1 though. There's a couple of like Mixon has a good matchup. Somebody else does. Saquon, I think maybe. Anyway,
Saquon's got a great matchup. I don't remember who it is, but wowzers. I have him in a couple leagues, and yeah,
mash.
He is really propelling my work league, my team in work league too. I think if I win and everyone in front of me loses this week, there's like 2 or 3 people. I'm in first. I'm in first.
Cool.
I have like the 3rd most points scored. It's weird because that team is not very good. But anyways, along to the wide receivers. My first wide receiver is Drake London. I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Drake London. London. Drake London.
I thought you were saying lawn dart.
No, London. Anyways, Drake London versus the Chicago Bears. Last week, London had his best game since week 2. Excuse me. Sorry, I thought I had a sneeze there.
Ruined.
I believe he's been injured over that time span, but he actually hasn't missed any time. He's just been, invisible. But he certainly didn't appear to be invisible on Sunday. It was against the Panthers, who have given up the 8th most receiving yards to wide receivers. But this week, the Falcons are going up the Bears, who are giving up the 12th most receiving yards, but only on 6 wide receiver touchdowns on the season to date. So, and that's a lot of reason because teams run on the Bears. But that doesn't mean London can't have another good game. After all, London did start the season with 9.9, 20.6, and a 12.9 point weeks in his first 3 weeks. None of those are record breaking, but if he would have kept that pace, he'd be a solid kind of wide receiver 2 or close to it this entire year. So I like Drake at a shot to take the cake. I have a rhyme on every single one of them. You're going to get super annoyed by the end of this show, Chris.
Love it.
You're not going to by the end.
On to my next RB of the evening. Elijah Mitchell versus the Arizona Cardinals. Josh, you had some foresight, not to be confused with foreskin. You had some foresight when you mentioned Mitchell's name last week. I was dismissive and I was wrong. At least through 1 week.
I did say that, I love that you're giving me credit for it. I just said I am interested. I am interested in to see what Mitchell's usage would be this week with his first game back in CMC. There was such an uproar on Twitter of why would you trade for CMC and just not to use them in the 4th quarter and blah blah blah. And I'm like, because
they want to win football games and keep them healthy.
And Mitchell is probably a better goal line back than CMC is. CMC's got some power, don't get me wrong, but Mitchell's probably got more.
I think I didn't include it in my stats, but I did look at their red zone, and obviously Mitchell just got back, so it's like CMC's been quite utilized in the red zone. Let's just put it that way. But yeah.
Oh, I know.
Mitchell might be better on the goal line. That's a fair analysis. But I also think moving forward, we can rely on Mitchell getting some work, and particularly on the ground. He actually outcarried CMC 18-14. Kyle Shanahan was on record saying he'd like the carries to be about even. Now, that can be problematic for us fantasy folks in a bad game script where the Niners are having to come from behind and throw more to catch up. Obviously, CMC is going to be the guy on the field in that situation. Fortunately for us, this is not one of those game scripts. First off, Arizona, as mentioned before, has 2 injured quarterbacks, Kyler with a hamstring and Colt McCoy with a knee. Also, the Niners are a good defense, in case you haven't heard, ranking top 5 in both passing and rushing yards allowed. Therefore, I expect the Niners to keep Arizona in check and have ample opportunities to run the ball, which is what they'd rather do anyway. And Mitchell will see double-digit carries and some scoring opportunities. And in terms of scoring opportunities, Arizona has allowed 5 rushing touchdowns in their last 3 games. I see Mitchell as a low-end RB2 this week.
Asking for a friend, Chris. Elijah Mitchell or James Conner this week in the same game?
I think I got a Mitchell, especially given my list here.
Cool. Interesting. Anyways,
Connor's not on my list.
okay. My next guy is actually 2. It is Tyler
I
Boyd.
skipped one. Go ahead. Sorry, I skipped one. It's fine.
It's Tyler Boyd and Tiggins, or as we like T. Higgins, or as we like to call him, Tiggins. My best guess, as I mentioned earlier in the news, is that Jamar Chase is going to miss at least one more week, and the Bengals are going up against the lowly Pittsburgh Steelers. In his absence in Week 8, Boyd scored. That would be Jamar Chase's absence. Boyd scored 11.3 points, while Tiggins recorded 12.6. Then the next week, both of them failed to hit even 10 fantasy points due to Mixon going berserk against the Panthers. The Steelers are giving up the most points per game to wide receivers. Boyd and Tiggins look to face Pittsburgh slot corner Arthur Mowlett and cornerback Akelo Witherspoon, who are PFF's 77th and 106th rated cornerbacks, respectively. So I like Boyd and Tiggins to score you biggins.
I'm still so
that one I actually didn't have written down and made it up on the fly. So you should be super impressed with it.
Hey, maybe that's why it was better. No, I'm just kidding. All right, the one I skipped is actually kind of appropriate that I skipped it, because I do like to do them in order of, RB1 down to flex, et cetera, et cetera. And these guys are right there with one Elijah Mitchell. I say these guys because I am including 2. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson versus the Houston Texans.
Boo.
You play your running backs versus the Texans. It's simple.
Yes, you do.
Houston is dead last or bottom 5 in basically every rushing defensive set you could throw out there. Last in rushing yards per game, last in fantasy points per game given up to the running back position, and have given up an average of 2 rushing scores per game over the last 4 games. What do you got?
I gotta say, I feel like you're cheating on this one.
But it's still
no, you're absolutely right, dude. I just feel like you're cheating.
Washington has adopted a run-heavy approach with their new starter, Tyler Hansen. That's not his name. And it's working, having won 4 of their last 5 games. That, combined with the ineptness of the Houston run defense, means there will be enough to go around for both backs, in particular in the red zone where the big backs can excel. And, of course, Gibson gets the looks through the air. I see Robinson as a high-end RB2 this week, and Gibson as a high-end flex / low-end RB2. Hey, what's up, Brandon? Tech Audit TV and the Hizzy.
Finally made a stream. Welcome, sir. Welcome. I should just say sir or madam or whatever. I gotta get better with my gender.
I think he's 2 hours behind us, and I know he has kids, so it's like dinner and getting off work and this and that. It's always probably hectic for him around this time. I think he's on West Coast time.
Work is getting him off? Ew.
Gracious.
Anyways.
Well, think of some, if you got any fantasy questions there, Brandon, then let us know.
Yes, please do. Put them in the chat. We appreciate you stopping by. My next guy up is Josh Palmer versus KC. Palmer is going to be my guy again this week, but because he was 2 weeks ago. But Keenan Allen and Mike Williams could be back this week. So let's move along to Mr. Gabe Davis. Stephon Diggs, let's not bury the lead here. Stephon Diggs is a smash start this week. And frankly, I think so is Gabe Davis. The thing about Gabe Davis is he is a bit of a touchdown dependent wide receiver, but he doesn't necessarily have to be. Gabe Davis's games are really weird, Chris. In games where he scores a touchdown, he also has at least 74 receiving yards.
Yeah, it's nice volume for sure. When
games without a touchdown, he has 37 yards at best. So same thing with yards per target too. Like they're super low. Like I feel like he can get those yards without a touchdown. It just seems like it's just too. It's so weird that they're so hand in hand. I don't know, man. So anyways, I like Gabe Davis this week. I don't think he has to be touchdown dependent. It's just been very fluky that he has been so far this year. So Gabe Davis against and to further my point, the Browns are giving up the 10th most points per game to wide receivers, and with the Bills' run game being rather anemic so far for most of the season. Singletary's had some okay games, but But I like Gabe Davis to be there to save us.
Reaching at the top shelf. Reaching.
Told you you're gonna get annoyed. Anyways, what's your next guy?
Real quick. Tech says, I think Russell Wilson is going to have a banger of a year next season. He's my sleeper pick. Ooh. Might be out on that branch alone, sir, but I'm not giving up entirely yet. My next guy is Jamal Williams of the Detroit Lions versus the New York Giants. Williams is the starting running back for the Detroit Lions and has been for a few weeks. Swift hasn't seen, I mentioned this earlier off a question we had, Swift hasn't seen 20 fantasy points or double-digit carries since week 1 and is averaging 1.69 yards per carry over the last 3 weeks. Now, while Jamal hasn't been a bastion of efficiency himself and his snap percent is kind of all over the place, his volume and red zone carries have buoyed his fantasy value to that of an every week RB2. He is second in the league with 9 rushing touchdowns behind only Nick Chubb. Now on to the Giants. But Chris, you might say, the Giants are a good defense versus the rush, right? Wrong. They, similar to Dallas, have been hemorrhaging yards while not giving up many rushing touchdowns. They too have only given up 5 rushing touchdowns on the year, but are dead last in rushing yards per attempt with 5.5 per attempt. Moreover, over the last 4 games, they're averaging 102.8 rushing yards and 0.75 rushing touchdowns given up to RBs. I like Williams as a mid-range RB2 this week.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm down with some. I'm down with some J-Will. You know me. Some Jamal that, if you will.
You just can't get out of that mode, can you?
What?
Rhyming.
Oh, it was something. I saw it on Twitter or something. Like it was. I'm not taking credit for Jamal that.
Gotcha.
Anyways, you know, like the kids sketch comedy show on Snick back in the day, all that. Only it's Jamal that.
Yeah.
We've gone over this before, dude.
It was a little after my time. I was more the you can't do that on television crowd because I'm ancient.
Yeah, I don't really remember that. Anyways, my next guy is Cortland Sutton versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost called them the Rams yet again. Anyways, I continuously pick on the Raiders as guys like A, because their defense isn't very good, and B, because their defense isn't very good. Sutton actually started out this year averaging 12.54 fantasy points per game, which isn't great, but it's definitely flex worthy. But since then, he's hitting just 4 point. Like I think that's the first 5 weeks. My bad, I didn't write that down. But since then, he's hitting just 4.4 points per game. Broncos had a bye week in there too in week 9, so you know, blah blah blah. Jerry Jeudy goosed me last week in Dynasty, but that was due to injury. And once again, one of the reasons why I lost. And once again, Chris, no comment. At least that's what I've been telling myself as a problem. As I probably mentioned earlier, I think Jeudy is going to miss this week. The fact that he hasn't practiced yesterday or today is not a very good sign for him. That opens the door for Sutton. You're going to be you're taking a risk with Russ being Sutton's QB, but the Broncos are playing the Raiders, as I mentioned already multiple times. While the Raiders are giving up actually a very average 15th most points per game to wide receivers, if Judy's not out there playing, there's no one really on the Broncos roster at the wide receiver position, at least, that really interests me as a pass catcher. So click that button to make your flex player Sutton.
Nice. Sutton or Kadarius Toney?
Who are the Chiefs playing again? The Chargers?
Yep.
Toney. I'm willing to take a chance on Toney.
Way I'm leaning. That's the way I'm leaning.
I thought about it and I was gonna be like, eh.
What do I have left here?
You got one more, probably?
Yeah, I do. Speaking of the Chiefs at the Chargers, well, I don't know if it's just Chief versus Chargers. Isaiah Pacheco. I know.
No.
Pacheco hasn't scored double-digit fantasy
points. Really?
Yes. Why are you?
No, it's fine. I just, ugh. Oh, you want to see me vomit? Wait till we get to my quarterback streamer.
Ew. Okay.
That's my own, and I'm gonna vomit.
Pacheco hasn't scored double-digit fantasy points all season, but he has been very efficient when given the opportunity, and the Chargers are among the league's worst versus the run, and just lost 2 interior defensive linemen for the year, Christian Covington and Otit Ogbonnier. Yep. When Pacheco sees more than 5 carries, he is averaging 5.3 per carry, and the Chargers are right there with the Giants in second to last, giving up 5.4 rushing yards per attempt. They're also third to last in fantasy points per game given up to the running back position. And over their last 3 games have averaged 169 rushing yards and 1.76 rushing touchdowns given up to RBs. That's RBs alone, folks. The score and the game script should be in favor to favor the run for the Chiefs, and they are 6.5-point favorites with a 50-point over-under this week. I think they'll be able to control the game on the ground. Yes, Chiefs like to throw a lot, but Pacheco is technically the starter. I think he's got another double-digit carries in his
back pocket,
wheelhouse, future. I can't talk. In his future, and I like Pacheco as a high-end flex this week. Let's go. There's probably enough teams that don't have to start Pacheco, but I think there's enough teams that might have to. It's been bad.
And I think Pacheco's really average, and I don't really think it's necessarily on him. I think it's more on
their style. I think
the Chiefs are just having a really awful time getting any of these really pedestrian runners going.
Well, Andy Reid likes to throw, and hey, man, when you have the best quarterback in the game, it's hard to blame him. But he was also like that in Philly.
What?
Andy Reid in Philly. There was a lot of times they were like, "OMG, just run the ball," and he would just. And you remember, this is in the 2000s.
I think you're forgetting about LaShawn McCoy and.
No, what I'm saying
Brian
is
Westbrook
even with not Pacheco isn't this, but when he has an all-pro running back, he still throws too much. He got a lot of flack for that in Philly, is what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm gonna trust your memory over mine. How about that?
I did. I mean, they still had fine seasons, but
Chris,
you got in trouble for that.
My last guy, I feel like should intrigue you a little bit, because he certainly intrigued me when I came up with this guy. Darius Slayton versus the Detroit Lions. This guy has flown under our radar long enough, and by ours, I mean the fantasy football community. In each of his last 3 games, the New York Giants has played. They had week 9 off, so I had to kind of be stipulating that. Slayton has seen his snap percentage increase, his yards per target increase. He has a touchdown in 2 of the last 3 games, and is averaging 13.13 points per game in that span. Slayton and the Giants are going up against the Lions this week, who are giving up the 9th most points to wide receivers. Slayton's pass-catching teammates, not named Saquon, really don't scare me this week either. The only reason outside of injury I could see that Saquon does is the outside injury that Darius Slayton does not do a good job for you this week is that Saquon goes wild, and therefore the Giants don't have to go to the air, move the ball through the air. I would hold Slayton after this week too. His next several matchups are Detroit this week, start. Dallas next week, maybe start. Washington the week after that, must start. Philly in, what would that be, week 14, bench. But then in week 15, start again. A must start again against Washington. Slayton probably won't be your, quote, win your league, but stop procrastinating, pick up and start Darius Slayton.
All right, what do I have next for us?
I seriously have gone through and picked up Darius Slayton in every league that I could.
Nice.
Like I said, he's not going to win you your league, but he could definitely help you get into the playoffs if you're needing a wide receiver. I said, 3 weeks. What is it? 3 weeks from now, it's Philly bench. But other than that, why not, man?
Well, I was going to touch on your how do you say it? You kind of pushed on Dallas. You hesitated. I would say this. They just got finished getting burned by a speedster. Yes, a speedster with more size than Slayton, clearly. But a rookie, nonetheless, in Christian Watson for 3 freaking touchdowns. And 2 bombs.
3.
Yeah. There's 3 touchdowns, I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was 2.
2 of them which were bombs. One was a red zone slant or a
Okay.
pick play or whatever.
I didn't really pay that close attention to that game.
One was 50+ yards. Yeah, so I'm just making the correlation between Slayton being a speedster himself, as far as I remember his profile. He's got some speed to burn, and Cowboys are struggling in that area. All right, on to my first super stream at the tight end position. I do want to give an honorable mention here real quick and get this out of the way to one George Kittle. He's 99% rostered, so this is.
I was trying to make him mine. I was like,
a stream. You can't do it.
And you know, honestly, like, sorry to interrupt you on this one. Like, I was like, I feel like Kittle's kind of like another guy that's actually kind of flown under the radar this season, in the sense that, like, I kind of felt like he wasn't really doing all that much, and then I looked at his points. I was like, oh, he's been actually kind of good. And
well, he missed the first 2 or 3 weeks with injury.
Well,
and then
I remember that, but
not good there for. He just wasn't. He hasn't been that great. He boomed 1 week for 20-something points. I think he got a touchdown and great, good yardage and whatnot. But
I was looking at his points,
and then he had a dud. Like, he had a dud last week. An absolute dud last week. But I was doing my due diligence. I checked the tight end matchups versus the Cardinals and the Seahawks, and I'll get to this in a moment. The Cardinals are giving up the second most fantasy points per game to tight end. That's the end of my honorable mention to Kittle. He's 99% rostered. You can't consider a streamer, but
like 91% started in sleeper leagues too. I was like, never mind.
Exactly. So just vote of confidence for you there. On to the tight end matchups this week. 2 of the top 5 worst teams in terms of fantasy points per game given up to tight ends are on bye. I believe that's Seattle and Miami, if I remember correctly. And another, Arizona, plays Kittle, who we just talked about. Yeah, so he's not streamable. So that's 3 of the top 5 kind of eliminated from you there. So I give you Greg Dulcich versus the Raiders.
Hey,
the Raiders are, is it? The Raiders are 5th worst in fantasy points per game given up to tight ends. Don't worry, I'm pretty thin here in tight ends. Notes got kind of thin.
I got a thin tight end myself.
Raiders are 5th worst in fantasy points per
game.
And 4th most. They've given up the 4th most passing yards. Dulcich did not play the Raiders back in week 4 when they met the Broncos. He was injured. Now Dulcich did have a dud last week, but I think this is a bounce back / get right game for him. And I think he'll be just fine considering the matchup. Raiders are in turmoil right now.
Dulcich is another guy that I picked up in a couple different leagues.
Mm-hmm.
My notes for Dulcich didn't get saved, so I'm just gonna say ditto.
Ditto. That's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. That's all we need to know how bad the Raiders are.
I was like, we scrolled down to tight ends. I'm like, why does that seem so nothing there? And I'm like, that's a bummer. I know I wrote some stuff down, but I'm pretty sure.
Go with your second guy then?
I will go with my second guy, and that is Tyler Conklin versus the New England Patriots. Is he your second guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, there's nobody out there to stream, should I say?
It's so freaking true. Anyways.
I've got one in the back of my head that I'll mention. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so far Tyler Conklin had an okay start to the season, but really cooled off down the stretch with one notable exception. We'll get to that in just a second. Conklin is averaging about 75 to 8% snap percentage per game. I said all those on purpose because it seemed like a lot of percentages in a row. Anyways, which that's not too bad for a tight end, 75, 80%. That's pretty good, I'd say that's probably right around league or above league average. I'm guessing his dip from the beginning to the season to week 8, which is based mainly on the injuries to the Jets offensive line. As I mentioned, the Jets are facing the Patriots. This might sound like a bad matchup, but the Patriots are in a 3-way tie for giving up the most touchdowns to tight ends, and are giving up the 5th most points per game to tight ends. The last time Conklin and the gangrene faced the Patriots, which was week 8, which I was just about, was talking about just a second ago. In that game, Tyler Conklin caught 6 of his 10 targets for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns.
2 tutties.
Conklin against the Pats. I'll count on that.
Love it. I basically echoed the same. It was just 2 games ago / 3 weeks ago that he played the Pats. So yeah, fire him up. I want to say honorable mention. Another guy you could pivot to that I'm kind of pivoting to here is one Jawan Johnson For the New Orleans Saints,
Yep,
you said earlier,
I have him in a couple leagues starting as well.
You said you were
Or
kind of counting
one
out
league.
all Saints besides Kamara. I think you just kind of forgot to mention Jawan. He's been good lately, at least 2 or 3 double-digit games in a row in terms of half-point PPR fantasy points. Now, the Rams are good versus the tight end. I see them as third best in points per game given up to the tight end, but not last week because that was the Ertz week. He got hurt, and the backup came in for like 1 catch. So they did well last week against. But the week before that, when they played the Bucks, Cade Otton had a coming out party. 5 catches, 68 yards, and 1 touchdown. But he was featured on the game-winning drive. So I don't know if it's matchup based, kind of what went down there, but they saw something where they could exploit that part of the field, that matchup, and Cade Otton. Hey, Juwan Johnson's been great in the red zone. So there's another guy that you could go out and stream that is available. Absolutely available.
Yep. And if you have big old brass cojones, you can always roll out Taysom Hill.
You know, I pulled him up for a second. It was just so bleak lately. But yeah.
I mean, he hasn't done anything in like 5 weeks or something.
I even tried to look how bad Rams were against like running backs. I was like, because he'll probably maybe run one in. It was a bit of a stretch, so I didn't include him. But Josh is right. If you're real desperate and you got big cojones, go for it. My first tight end stream is Daniel Jones. That's what I meant to say. My apologies. Quarterback, Daniel Jones versus a Lion. Same old, same old. This one. Wash, rinse, repeat.
I thought he was too. What
owned?
Did you have his?
Yeah, it's 70% something. I don't.
Okay, that's why I didn't go with it.
69. Nice.
Nice.
He is 69% rostered. I've got another guy here. Well, of course I do, but another one to fall back on here. Just, same old, same old. You target the Lions. Basically, whether you're quarterback, running back, tight end, receiver, doesn't matter. You play your guys against them. They're dead last in fantasy points per games to quarterbacks. But obviously on the ground is what we're looking at there with Daniel Jones. And they have been
I mean, he's got potential through the air too.
Absolutely.
Especially with the aforementioned Darius Slayton.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good stack there for you. Detroit has been burned by mobile quarterbacks, the likes of Jalen Hurts, Geno, Justin Fields, obviously, is on fire. They've combined for 4 rushing touchdowns against the Lions. So, I mean, you're looking at, I don't know, minimum of 40, 50 yards on the ground, maybe runs one in, probably approaches 200 plus yards through the air, maybe throws one. Yeah, man, that's a great start. Great start this week. What you got?
My quarterback stream of the week. Chris, hold on a second.
Marcus Mariota?
Mm-hmm.
He's my other guy. There's only so much to choose from, folks.
Chris, I can't believe it. It's coming to this. Marcus Mariota is, in fact, my stream of the week. I have to start him in at least one league, too, and it might be 2 leagues.
I think I chose Rodgers over him. Rodgers is playing right now, and it's looking like Mariota might be the better pickup.
So far. Until Rodgers just scores a touchdown right there or something.
Really
anyways,
defense, dude.
It's not that I hate Marcus Mariota. It's really don't. It's just that I think he's a very average, trashy QB. Why the hell would I recommend him then? He runs the ball, Chris. He runs the ball.
Konami code.
It's the reason why he is QB 12 on the year, according to Sleeper. He's only 47% rostered, so there's a coin flips chance that he's available in your league.
Yeah.
Over the past 6 weeks, Marcus Mariota is averaging 42 rushing yards, so that's 4.2 fantasy points right there, average. He's throwing at 1.5 touchdowns per game in that time. So, and we'll call that it's 5 points for a passing touchdown. So that's another 7.5 points right there. Now we're looking at just a base of 11.7 fantasy points this week. That's just a base. Throw in, get it? Get it? Throw in. Anyways, another 175 yards, which he's averaging through the air. And now you're looking at about 18 fantasy points this week. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. That's a streamer right there, Chris. That's coming from a guy you could just pick up. So put down the Mota and start Mariota.
Yes. I'm going to pivot off of my Mariota stream because honestly, I didn't have literally any notes on him. And you had the same guy. And I'm going to pivot to Russell Wilson versus
I-
the Raiders.
I picked him up in my work league because Tua's off this week.
I mean, if I'm going to go with 69% Daniel Jones, I can go with 71%
Yes!
Russell. And he's going to be out there in some leagues. 10-team leagues for show. He's
my
playing the Raiders,
is a 12-team league, actually. And there's quarterbacks rostered to plenty in that. And yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah.
Someone dropped him on like Monday before the Monday night game. It was weird.
Raiders are second worst in points per game given up to the quarterback position at 22.6. Russell already played. Oh, where'd it go?
The Raiders.
Russell's already played the Raiders in week 4 and scored and had his best week of the season with 28.98 fantasy points, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran one in. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily going to turn out the same, but again, folks, we're talking about streamers. Russell Wilson. It's at Denver too. Raiders at Denver. Russell Wilson. Let's go.
Let's ride.
That's right.
Mr. Limited. Chris, I have 2 sleepers this week. 2. Why don't you go ahead with your first?
Okay. I've got this is deep. This is a desperation.
See, you always say you're deep, and I somehow manage to dig deeper. So how deep are you going, Chris?
Treston Ebner, Chicago Bears running back versus the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, I mean, I like it.
I don't think I said in the news part.
Oh yeah, Khalil Herbert's out.
I think I missed that in the news. It's there. I think I just glanced over the line. My bad.
Absolutely. I need to switch to me. My bad. Yeah. Again, like Josh just said, Khalil Herbert is on IR, hip injury.
Probably done for the year.
Montgomery has not been that good. Where is it? I had him up here. Apologies. Something about he hasn't exceeded. He has had no more than 15 carries in one game besides week 1. You figure he's going to get the bulk of the carries, though, with Herbert out. Herbert has been so much better than Montgomery. Montgomery's still probably the better pass catcher than Herbert is. Speaking of pass catchers. There he is. Speaking of pass catchers, Treston Ebner.
Treston,
thank you. I had it. Dude, he had a ton of catches in college.
Yeah.
There he is. He has 127 career receptions at Baylor. Now, he's a 5-year senior. He was also they use platoon.
Super senior. That's what we called it in high school.
Yeah, super senior. And Baylor likes to use more than one guy. So his rushing stats aren't amazing. Best year was his senior year, 148 carries, 790 yards, 5.4 per carry is fine. But again, that receiving is what I want you to look at. He caught over 20 balls every single season. That's
good in college.
That's great in college, absolutely. So I look to have a desperation flex. Can't find anything else out there. Full PPR type of thing. You're hoping to get some catches, man. Yeah,
God, I'm having a brain. My mind's fried. Who are the Bears playing again?
Falcons.
Yes, the Atlanta Falcons.
Awful versus running backs. So
they're kind of awful top to bottom. Anyways, my first sleeper, Chris, you might want to get your vomit bag out.
I only have one. My first and only.
You might want to get it out.
Okay. Let me go get another drink. No, that's probably not a good idea.
Allen Robinson is my sleeper this week versus the New Orleans Saints. Chris, I can't quit him, man. I am dying on the Allen Robinson hill, and he is going to drag me down to hell with him. This is really sort of just for kicks since Cooper Kupp is likely done for the season. For reals, Van Jefferson is probably the Rams.
Some people were picking him up this week. Yeah.
Ride with. Oh my God, I'm drunk apparently.
Ride with Siva.
Ride with Siva. If you want to put any stock in any one of them, it's probably Van Jefferson. But I am dying on the Allen Robinson hill as one of my sleepers this week.
I don't hate it. Do you have another one then? Is that what you're saying?
My real sleeper this week is the father of your firstborn child, Chris.
Melvin Gordon?
Melvin Gordon the third
versus the Raiders.
It is pitiful that the Broncos decided to bring Melvin Gordon back this season. That
decent week last week.
He had an event to become their eventual RB1, and this Broncos team has been surprisingly overall pretty bad this year. Gordon is leading the backfield in snap percentage, fantasy points, and yards per carry, but not by much. Latavius Murray may have one more touchdown than Melvin Gordon since Javonte Williams was injured. But, you have to really squint hard to see the difference between Latavius Murray and Melvin Gordon. Why go Melvin Gordon then? Why not? It's not really. It's the matchup. It's the matchup. The Raiders they aren't giving up a ton of yards on the ground, but they're giving up 12 total touchdowns back so far this season. So Gordy's got a legit shot to be a sleeper this week. A start if you've got the cojones. I did not have a rhyme for that one, Chris. I do apologize for that one.
12 total. Okay, I see it. Yeah, 10 on the ground and then a couple more through the air.
I thought it was 9 on the ground and 3 through the air.
10 rushing touchdowns on the year given up for the Raiders.
Okay. I don't know. I'm pulling off memory. But anyways.
We're going off the rails, folks. Despite the having a couple of the same guys, I think it was tight ends, and being very slim pickings, I think we ended the show quite strongly. Like, I know Treston Ebner, again, is probably maybe the deep. I don't know. Robinson's pretty deep. Name recognition in Robinson's favor, but that's about it.
Do we want to end this show before we start sucking each other off?
Whoa. That was awful. But anyway, no, I thought it was pretty decent. I like some of those names we threw out there.
Pretty good show, Chris. I mean, other than, Aaron Rodgers, playing a turd so far in this Thursday Night Football game.
Yeah,
which honestly bound to happen because of last week. And it's not because you started him or anything.
Regression back to the mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And by mean you mean below.
I looked hard at Mariota too. I did. I was like, man,
it was really slim picking. Okay. Let's end the show real quick here, and then we can go to some asking for a friends. You can grab a drink and everything. How about that?
Absolutely.
So we have been Amazing Fantasy Football. You ended it. I will finish it. How about that? I just stole it from you. Stolen. Yoink. We have been Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh. You can follow me on Twitter at JoshAFFB. He is Chris. You can follow him at AFFB Chris on Twitter until the mere hours left in what's left of Twitter being relevant.
We didn't even talk about it tonight. Yeah, go ahead.
I was so late to Twitter that I'll just die. I will go down and with the Twitter Hindenburg. Anyways, other than that, you can check us out every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. We don't know where you live, so you do that math. You can also check us out Sunday mornings at brain fart 10
a.m. Central.
10 a.m. Central Time. Would it be weird if we did the Sunday morning stream at like 10 a.m. Eastern Time? Like we move into Eastern Time to do that?
Yes, it would be weird.
That would be weird. Anyways, we have been Amazing Fantasy Football. We are here every Thursday and every Sunday. You can also come into the chat if you're listening to us in podcast format. You can pop in on the live show, pop in your questions and everything. We have a Discord server. It's very inactive, so I'm not gonna. You can just check that out in the show notes.
All the links are in the description.
All the links are always in the description, Chris. You're absolutely right. Until Sunday, with injury updates and last-minute lineup advice, we've been Amazing Fantasy Football. Good luck, everyone.
Peace out. Everybody stick around. We're going to come back from a BRB for the stream. We're just ending the recording of the podcast. BRB.
The recording. Ending the recording.
And we're back. Sorry about that. Yes, my ice maker does suck. I went ahead and took it upstairs to the proper freezer. Ice maker, my freezer, my little mini fridge freezer. I had it down here for easy access. I was like, it'll be fine.
That mini fridge that is like maybe older than one of your daughter. It's definitely older than your one daughter, and it's almost as almost older than your other.
And I used
actually that mini fridge is probably older.
Yeah, you definitely gave it to me before. Oh, older than because you owned it before. Yeah, of course, yeah.
And the person that I got it from owned it for who knows how long before me. So
and I used the shit out of it. It's just, and it keeps ice fine. It's just it's so small, and it's not going to freeze it very well. So I took it upstairs. That's what took me a whole second. I went in and said, if I'm going to have ice, and I do have some. I was pulling it out, like water dripping, like flinging it in. I was like, just a couple cubes. More importantly, my drink is colder, but I may not be able to chew on any of this ice because it'll probably melt before I get to it.
That's a good thing for all of us.
Yeah, well, depends on your point of view, I suppose.
Yeah, you fucking asshole.
All right, so asking for friends. You gave me one earlier.
I did.
Tony, I think it was.
Like I said, I've just picked up Russell Wilson, I think. Or I'm in the process of trying to do so. I don't understand why he just didn't. Okay. So my options were Jacoby Brissett versus the Buffalo Bills, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, and that's kind of about it. Everything else is just god awful.
Wilson. I think I'm going to go Russ. Like
exactly.
We talked about a moment ago, yeah. It was
like Matt Ryan against Philly. Ugh.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Davis Mills against Washington. That one might be, if Davis Mills was playing okay like he was last year, yes, but man, Davis Mills has shown that he's a backup guy. Like he's probably a pretty decent backup quarterback.
Yeah, I think we got a little. At least I can speak for me and you. I think we got a little excited there. We saw some promise in his rookie year.
No, and there was promise.
Cooks is a great vet to have in your back pocket. Is a great vet to have in your receiver core as your as
long as he's not in your prison wallet.
What is the prison anyway?
You don't know what the prison wallet is?
No, I don't think I want to know.
Come on, dude. Use your imagination.
A wallet made out of duct tape? Oh, yeah. I just figured it out.
There you go.
How about... I had one more to add to that, Kadarius Toney. Pacheco.
Boy, I'm so glad I started.
Pacheco.
Wait a minute. Alan Lazard was not supposed to be the starter this week.
Oops.
No, I started him over Tony because I wasn't a believer. That's right.
That's not. I mean, I'm trying to say that is fair. That's not far off base. It's really not.
And the Titans have been so bad against wide receivers.
Yeah. How about Kadarius Toney? Again, that's Sunday night at Chargers. Chiefs at Chargers. DJ Moore versus the Baltimore Ravens, or Pacheco versus those same Chargers.
Pacheco is immediately out.
It's been so bad, dude, and it's Baker again.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go with Tony. Tony was one of them, right?
Yep. I've got Pacheco in there now. I don't blame you.
I think it's Tony easily.
This is friends with
dude, and it's not like, and it's honestly, it's not like, because you made some good points of why Pacheco has a chance to be a good start this week. I don't have any faith in any Chiefs running back at all. It's just like they've shown it's like it's just
there's definitely some desperation there. There's definitely some desperation again.
Right, and like you pointed out, like there's probably some people that have to start him this week. I feel bad for those.
I just can't start DJ Moore again. I just can't start him again. That's who I've been starting at receiver or flex. So this week it's.
When it was there, it was pretty good for a couple of weeks, but man, like.
Yeah, so I'm rolling with Hopkins, St. Brown.
The flame that burns brightest burns out the fastest,
I'll probably end up going Tony. How about one more, at least for me, tight end. Gerald Everett versus the Chiefs. We've been over this matchup 100 times. Or, I guess I might know your answer, Conklin versus Patriots. I don't know, though. Everett's supposed to be better. Big picture.
Everett is supposed to be better, and
he's also banged up.
This is okay. Everett is banged up, so he may not play. But I think it's more based on, do Mike Williams and Keenan Allen play?
I don't
You
think
know,
Keenan does. I
like-
think Mike Williams does.
I think Mike Williams has a chance, but I'm not sure. If neither one of those guys play and Gerald Everett plays, Gerald Everett. But I would probably put Conklin in right now, and then look at it Sunday morning and to do a quick pivot to Everett.
Gotcha.
Interesting play call by the Titans. Wow. I like it.
And Everett is banged up. So, in fact, it's
Hey, Chris, did you know that Gerald Everett's banged
groin
up?
injury. Yeah, groin injury. Speaking of being banged up. But yeah, it's his groin.
Sure, that's exactly how that works out. But okay.
Definitely. Same vicinity.
Don't really know
he has
if
been
that's-
practicing limited, similar to Mike Williams. They're
and
probably
Keenan
just
Allen.
going back to those Chargers pass catchers and all these injuries and Keenan not be able to get healthy. Do you know that Austin Eckler is on pace to break
Wow.
CMC's reception? I think it's CMC, right? Reception record, like by a decent margin. I don't know. I don't have the number, but he's on pace to break it. And it's, I mean, he's still the RB1 half point PPR, but he's got to be the RB1 in full PPR. You know?
Yeah.
Wow, what a season.
Yeah, it's been a good season for him, and it's really kind of a shame that there's some real spineless pukes in our dynasty league that won't trade you for him.
Oh, right. Yeah. I wasn't
Dude,
rehashing
like,
for that reason.
For
Yeah.
reals, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go back and I mean, you probably wouldn't take just a first round pick for him, but I'd have at least offered up what I did for Chubb to you for him. You know, like
a first, like nothing plus. Like even if somebody would be like, I won't give you this and that, I'll only
I
give
give
you
up
a
a
late
first,
first.
to like a third for Chubb, I think.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. A guy who won't catch the ball, you know? He just, I mean, I suppose if you throw it at his face, he'll probably catch it.
He's had some catches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Eckler has 20 more catches than McCaffrey. He has 67 catches. Ready.
Yeah, he's on pace to break McCaffrey's.
I can't remember.
I think it is
McCaffrey's
McCaffrey's.
I'm pretty
Was
sure
the
it's
previous
McCaffrey's.
record LT that had it?
Had to be LT. It was probably Falk before that.
Probably. Before that, it was me. Fucking bastards. Anyways,
Yeah, 116. Oh, he's got both. 2019, 116 by McCaffrey. 2018 by McCaffrey, 107. Forte with 102. Oh, come
yeah.
on. Larry Sinners in 95 with 101. You probably don't know who the hell that is. Larry Sinners. Wow.
I'm sorry, Boomer. Who are you talking about?
You're right. Well, they didn't list that in the correct order then. What the heck?
Hey, Chris, let me ask you something real quick. Quick Boomer test. Is your voicemail set up on your phone?
Yes.
Boomer.
I mean, I assume I set it up when I got the phone. I'm not a blush or whatever you'd call that. I'm not a complete lazy ass.
That's Boomer. I don't not set up my voicemail. If you want to leave me a message, just fucking text me.
Now, do I ever check my voicemail? No.
Okay,
Exactly,
so
just
send me
text
Boomer.
me. What's in my voicemail is spam. That Larry Sinners thing was a little wrong before I clicked on the article. Apparently, it is LT. Well, I mean, Larry Sinners is one behind him, so it's McCaffrey, Forte. Oh
I
no,
forgot
I'm
about
sorry,
Forte.
Larry Sinners. Yeah, Larry Sinners is fourth with 101. LT is fifth with 100, and then Larry Sinners again with 99.
Whoa.
He was a fullback, H-back kind of guy,
For
specialist. Arizona, many years.
okay. I was gonna say the Chargers. My bad.
I think he played for somebody else besides Arizona, but definitely Arizona a lot. Now I am curious and want to look him up.
You know, man. I play some weird scoring leagues, dude. And this Alan Lazard has 5.2 points, but in here it's probably a full PPR versus if that's what it is. Never mind.
Any asking for friends?
Not really. I kind of went through it all already.
Larry Sinners played for Arizona for so long. He played him when they were the Phoenix Cardinals. That's how old I am. Then he
remember that.
Washington for a couple years, Buffalo for a couple years, and then I guess New
Okay.
England. New England loves to sign vets, especially pass catching running back vets. It's right up their alley. That was 03 when he hung it up at 35 years old.
That's an old running back right there. No Frank Gore, but
13 years. I mean, but he has, what's his rushing yards? This is going to be hilarious.
12.
Less than, yes, 2188, 2,188 rushing yards in 13 years. Best year was 425. Yeah.
He's
okay.
All
those targets, though. I don't know. I'm going down memory lane here, folks. Going down nostalgia.
What is he
lane.
like? The Cro-Magnon Kyle Juszczyk, like just a really good,
little smaller than that, I'd say. Little smaller.
Really good pass catching fullback sort of
6 foot 225 is what they have listed up here, and they do have listed him as a fullback, to be clear. But to be fair, that was his listed position, but he was more of an H back, halfback kind of guy.
Right. Almost a horse collar there. Oh, I didn't even include in the news that I didn't on purpose because Amari Rodgers got cut from the Green Bay Packers after fumbling twice last week on
I didn't know that. I didn't know there was cause behind it or what have you.
Yeah, twice in the same. I didn't even know that there was a first time until I saw the second one, and they're like,
"You're right."
I'm like, "Oh." I was like, "Uh-oh, someone's in trouble," and then he got cut.
Well, I also think that they knew Christian Watson was back 100% from injury. They had to have somewhat known what they have moving forward in Watson to thin out the receiver room like that. Although Dobbs is still hurt. I don't think he's coming back for a whole minute.
I think I just saw Cobb make a play, but
is Cobb back? Sammy Watkins has been fine for real life, I guess. He's been okay.
He's a guy.
He's a guy at this point in his career. He makes the occasional clutch catch, but nothing spectacular. Cobb would be probably a top 3, their slot starter. Gets healthy.
Yeah.
So, bye. Get out of here.
What a waste of a 3rd round pick.
Yeah. Hey, they're not the first team to use
shit, man. The Raiders have been throwing away 1st round picks for 2 decades.
Absolutely.
Dude, it's been like I mentioned this. I kind of mentioned this. Was it in our Dynasty group chat? I was just like,
Cobb did make a play,
but I was just like, if you're that bad at picking 1st round picks, making 1st round picks, why aren't you just trading away for veterans that are like established veterans?
When Al was still alive, he was still pulling strings. He'd literally go down the draft combine, look at the highest 40-yard draft. Didn't matter what position. Give me that guy. Usually wide receiver. Give me that guy.
Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, and then exactly. Just a workout warrior.
He wasn't even a workout warrior. He had a good. What was it? Sugar Bowl or whatever it was, and
big arm. That's what I'm saying.
Huge arm, but
physical attributes.
Huge arm. The worst at
the time, great size, which has ended up obviously being a problem.
Well, and then he ended his career with a great size because that dude
exactly.
like I want to see a full body shot of him from when he started in the NFL to when he ended in the NFL, and you could just see that belly grow. I saw that purple drank, it really packs on the pounds.
He was a drug addict.
Watson just got another touchdown.
Watson. Yes.
Watson. I said Watkins.
Let's go, Rodgers and Watson. I had a point. I forgot what it was. And then they had to suffer through Mike Mayock and John Gruden. To be fair, John Gruden's a decent personnel guy, just a little old school. You know what I mean?
I think Mike Mayock was maybe not bad, but it wasn't also great either.
I think the two of them together were awful. Outside of the controversy, honestly, completely, there's all football. I just don't think they had what it takes, and I feel sorry for Carr, man. I watched that.
I wonder how much Mike Mayock
interview
was hamstrung by Chucky wanting to like be like, no, I want this guy. I want this guy. You know.
Oh,
like,
I think he had his hand in the pot, so to speak. You know, I think he had his say in a lot of personnel decisions.
which, well, I mean, I feel like head coaches should versus like GMs just making all the decisions. But
what was that one bad? Was Mayock there for what was that fast receiver? That was so awful. I feel like he had two last names.
Darius Hayward-Bay.
Yep.
No, it was
that was
it
before
was
Mayock. That was before Mayock. So that's another one.
That was still the
40-yard
corpse
dash.
of Al Davis.
That was going back to my point about
and that dude, and if you remember correctly, that guy was drafted after Michael Crabtree. And Darius Hayward-Bay was saying, like, he was holding out because he's like, I should have been the first wide receiver drafted. I should have been the first wide receiver drafted. Or no, he was, and it was the exact opposite. It was Michael Crabtree that was holding out. He's like, I should have been the first wide receiver drafted. And yet it was like back half of the first round. It's like, you guys are in the back half of the first round. Both of you aren't very good.
Crabtree ends up at the Raiders eventually. He was
Niners, ironically ends up at the Raiders. He had an okay year or two.
Had a good career. Definitely had a couple of straight up good years. Actually, probably made a Pro Bowl. He probably made one Pro Bowl. 90-something catches.
Probably say a couple of Pro Bowls, maybe.
Probably 1,100 yards season. I'm just ballparking. He was a possession guy.
That sounds about right. Yeah. Oh, for sure. A nice perimeter guy.
Yep. Burned by, at the time, Longhorns, my favorite college team in that. Whatever they called it back then. I think that was pre-BCS. Anyway. Folks, to the stream community out there, we have been Amazing Fantasy Football.
Are we ending this? Okay.
I think so.
That's out of left field, but okay.
Say to you. That's, I don't know. Not going down memory lane.
Dude, we can go down memory lane, man. Okay, so do you... Okay, I don't know how in the fuck this popped in my head, but do you remember a Spider-Man / Marvel villain named Paste Pot Pete?
Like, not.
Oh yeah, you're not a comic book reader.
I haven't been for years. I pulled out my comic drawings today to show them to me. Paste Pot Pete. I'm gonna look it up because I want a.
It's a real thing.
If I see an image. Crapster, that's not literally paste. Oh god.
Paste pot. Yep.
Nope. Trapster. Apparently they modified him. Maybe they modernized him a little bit and made him Trapster eventually, is the impression I'm getting
that's
here.
right. Yeah. Which even then, whatever.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that. There he is on that's an old school cover.
There's a YouTube video for you. I'll put this in the old
Pot Pete, that's hilarious.
I have no idea how this.
I do watch a lot of YouTube videos on.
I just popped a link to a YouTube video in our Discord chat.
A lot of
there's one for you to watch.
Okay, I'll be sure to do that. Pardon me.
Yeah. I have no idea how the fuck that popped in my head today, and I was just like, "Why? Why did I all like randomly think of Paste Pot Pete?"
That is weird. See, the thing is, you're reading like comics that are 30 years older than you to get that, right? I mean,
even older, 30 years older than me. Yes, yeah, probably.
60.
Because
that's about right. That's actually more like you said, maybe closer to 40, more like 60s.
Well, that would be like 20 years, technically 20 years older than me because I was born in 84.
Oh yeah, my bad. Thinking. Go.
If you really think about it, but yeah.
Human Torch meets Paste Pot.
Yeah, dude, it's like some real fucking D-level villain.
I say power. Yeah. Is that his only equipment? Not even power.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
He's got
he does become the Trapster later on. Yeah, which I think is in a Spider-Man comic.
This Trapster image looks somewhat familiar. Yeah. I mean, again,
Oh, and
I didn't collect, and I didn't go back and collect a lot of old stuff either. I was collecting '90s comics. You know, like the worst time of comics, except for right before.
The library had all those Marvel Masterworks books, and that's how I read all that old like X-Men and Spider-Man and Fantastic Four stuff. Like, I didn't know better back in the day that they were mainly just like a picture with a lot of fucking text to them, you know, like they're not like comics nowadays. Like, it's just like you'll see a picture of Spider-Man like web swinging and he'll be like, "Hey, Spider-Man swings through the air," and blah blah blah, and Stan Lee's verbose writing style.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like, yeah, it's just like a tiny little picture on the in the quote frame, and then a lot of text, and yeah. It's all kind of hard to read nowadays, but
I can understand that.
if you want to appreciate the old school shit,
Mine was all '90s. It was really the artists. That's really what it was. It was all about the artists, the Todd McFarlane's, the Rob Liefelds, who couldn't draw feet. Jim Lee.
Wait, we got a question real quick, Chris.
Hey,
Edward he says, "I know this is a crazy question, but start Pacheco or Swift full PPR."
Fuck it, I'm going Pacheco. I'm going Pacheco. You missed it, Edward. He was my final Fav Five. We alternate running backs and wide receivers, and Pacheco was my lowest ranked start of the week, like a low end flex. But man, Swift is just the definition of unreliable right now. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? I love how he says it. I know this is crazy. And I answer it with a crazy answer. And I'm asking myself if I'm crazy.
It's not that crazy of a question or an answer given what Swift has been. Here's my take. Okay. What if Swift gets back on track? Like, they're finally like, "Okay, buddy, you're finally
healthy." Could you stand to have that on your bench?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Like, I think I'd rather start Swift, and because I think like they're interchangeable as far as the points you're probably going to get between the
floor
two
is probably similar. The floor is probably similar, unless Swift gets hurt. But the floor is probably about 5 or 6 points.
And then, but the ceiling for Swift is, 23, 24 points. Like,
if they give him the work. And who is Detroit playing again?
The Giants.
Yeah, I made the point that Giants. Yeah, I had Jamal Williams as one of my starts of the week, so I obviously feel good about a running back matchup. But that was a lot of on the ground, which is in Jamal's wheelhouse. I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to go Pacheco. I'm not going to say I've been on fire, but I've had some pretty good calls lately. Just going to throw that out there. But I would not be.
I'm going Swift. Dor, what do you? I'm going to Swift. Dor, what do you say? Well, I'll say that maybe we should do DeAndre Swift. I don't know why my dog has a slightly English
British
accent.
Woman? Old British woman?
I don't know why my dog has a female British voice, but that's what she does. I think
Josh probably has the more sound approach, but I'm going Pacheco because I like what I've seen. I love the matchup.
I have not liked what I've seen from Pacheco, but
not in terms of fantasy points, just what I've seen in real football.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Which doesn't always translate, but I'm
talking about what I've seen in real life too. But
he's the best running back they've got.
That's not saying much.
Well,
and once again, I'm not trying to besmirch
I'm
what
kicking
you said
myself.
No, you made a very you made a very good point about Pacheco and everything and his matchup. He's just so pedestrian, and like and Ed Zhang's here case, like I would so much rather have the upside of Swift than the mediocrity of Pacheco.
Again, you have the more sound approach. What was I going to say? You mentioned
because and once again, sorry to repeat myself.
CEH is. I traded him for and some other pieces, yada yada. Got Breece Hall for CEH and basically, and I was just looking like a freaking genius. And obviously, it's not my fault that he got hurt, that Breece Hall got hurt. But
injuries. I'm sorry, injuries don't count. I really hate it. I cannot stand it when people are like, "Oh, this guy's a bust because then he got injured." I'm like,
I know.
Yeah, injuries happen. Like, it's not okay. like they're a bust if they're Drake London, who like if you took Drake London in somewhere of your first 8 rounds, that's a bust because he was good at first and then disappeared. You know, like
no, I had made a comment about the guy
Cortland Sutton's been a bust.
I traded CEH to. I was like, it's something along the lines of, ha ha ha, you're welcome. And he's like, hey, he's outproducing Brees Hall at this point. And I chose not to say anything, but I was like, oh, come on. That's literally completely irrelevant. I can't control the guy getting hurt. So
Yeah.
that's more or less what I was going to say. And to go back to it for one quick second, the CEH trade is almost like a sabotage drop. The dude's dropped so many games. He's lost 3 in a row. He's back down to 5-5 after starting hot. Yeah, I'm a game behind him, sure, but anyway, I just scored a butt ton of points last week. What? I have, despite being 4-6, I am the only team with 2 top 5 finishes in terms of fantasy points for the week. Yeah. Not even Doc, who's 300 points ahead of everybody, 200 maybe.
That means his team's just better.
Yeah, for sure, his team's better. He's also 7-3, and so he scored under triple digits for the first time last week. Let's put it that way. So he's much more consistent. I'm just saying, yeah. I also said something in the Discord chat along the lines of I mistyped Juju's. I had a momentary lapse of reason, and I couldn't. I thought Juju was playing the Steelers for some weird reason. They were playing the Jags last week, and I was like, "Oh, is this his first revenge game?" And I was like, "Oh, I messed up, haha." And then Zach, it's his Discord, it's his league really, and he's like, he replies to it, so it's quotes my tweet, and he's like, "Quote fantasy expert." And I'm like, God dang it, because I did look dumb, and then I beat the hell out of Zach this week. So when I wrote the recap, I was like, I think the term is karma is a female dog. And then I reposted his comment in Discord, which also tags him. He's probably not happy with me. That's why he fired me from editing videos, Josh. I'm kidding.
That's why he fired you? Oh, maybe
No,
it was because you're like constantly late for work and the shoddy quality.
No, he's not streaming pretty much at all. So he's I may have mentioned he's dadding and trying to hold down his full-time job, his YouTube channel. So he has no time for streaming right now. Which, I mean, streaming supplements his product, his community, his pocketbook. But
hey, we're still streaming.
Yes.
So let's end the stream because you're starting to cut out.
Really? Well, okay. Everybody, it's been amazing. Ed, start Pacheco and don't look back.
Dude, DeAndre Swift all the way. That upside, dude. I was hoping you were like, start Pacheco, end stream. You're like, shit.
Sure.
Anyways.
Good night, everybody. Have an amazing fantasy weekend.
Good luck,
Peace.
everyone.